Imagine a time when the NBA was filled with giants. 7-footers who dominated the paint, defenses so physical that driving into the lane felt like stepping into a battlefield, and rivalries that burned hotter than ever. The 2000s were an era defined by grit, glory, and a transition that would reshape basketball forever. Many remember the music, the culture, and the technology of that decade, but somehow the basketball of that time doesn't always get the recognition it deserves. Yet the 2000s gave us dynasties, unforgettable stars, heartbreaking collapses, and the blueprint for the game we see today. At the dawn of the millennium, the league was in transition. Michael Jordan had retired for the second time in 1998, leaving behind a massive void. The Chicago Bulls dynasty was officially over, and fans were left wondering who would step up to claim the throne. The answer came quickly. The Los Angeles Lakers, led by Shaquille O'Neal and a young Kobe Bryant, would soon dominate the early part of the decade. Shaq was unlike anything the league had ever seen. Massive yet agile, powerful yet surprisingly graceful in the paint. Kobe, on the other hand, was a relentless worker. A player who modeled his game after Jordan, but brought his own ferocity and style. The combination of Shaq and Kobe was unstoppable. Under head coach Phil Jackson, the Lakers perfected the triangle offense and steamrolled their way to 3 consecutive championships in 2000, 2001, and 2002. Their dominance was so complete that for a while, it felt like no one else even had a chance. Kobe's clutch shot-making and Shaq's overwhelming presence inside made them the most feared duo in the sport. Yet, even in their prime, tensions brewed beneath the surface. Shaq's demand for respect and Kobe's rising confidence created a storm that eventually tore apart one of the greatest partnerships in basketball history. While the Lakers were dominating the early 2000s, another dynasty was quietly forming. The San Antonio Spurs, led by Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, and coach Greg Popovich, were the opposite of flashy. They weren't about highlights or trash talk. Instead, they played a brand of basketball built on fundamentals, discipline, and team-first mentality. Duncan, nicknamed the Big Fundamental, was the anchor. His footwork, bank shots, and defense were clinical, almost robotic in their precision. But what the Spurs lacked in spectacle, they made up for in consistency. They would go on to win championships in 1999.
Austin is really rushing at him.
Crossover once, twice. Luka counted, and one for Doncic. Pulled it on the trailing pass. Reed back and forth. He's got the big in front of him. He wants to go around him. He does!
2003, 2005, and 2007, establishing themselves as one of the most respected dynasties in sports. The contrast between the star power of the Lakers and the quiet dominance of the Spurs defined much of the decade. But the NBA in the 2000s was about more than just dynasties. It was about rivalries, heartbreaks, and the rise of new legends. One of the defining storylines was Allen Iverson. At just 6 feet tall, Iverson was a giant slayer. His crossover dribble was lethal, his scoring ability unmatched, and his toughness legendary. In 2001, Iverson carried the Philadelphia 76ers to the NBA Finals almost single-handedly, even stealing Game 1 from the mighty Lakers. That moment when he stepped over to Tyronn Lue after hitting a jumper became an iconic image, symbolizing Iverson's defiance and fight against the odds. Yet Iverson's finals run was a rare breakthrough for Eastern Conference teams in the early 2000s. The East was considered weaker compared to the loaded Western Conference. While Iverson fought with everything he had, his Sixers couldn't overcome the Lakers' dominance. The same fate befell other stars in the East, like Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, and Paul Pierce, who struggled to carry their teams past the powerhouse squads out west. But the decade was also about resilience and the shifting of power. The Detroit Pistons shocked the basketball world in 2004 by defeating the heavily favored Lakers in the finals. Built without a single dominant superstar, the Pistons thrived on defense, teamwork, and balance. Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton, Tayshaun Prince, Rasheed Wallace, and Ben Wallace formed a lineup that proved that collective effort could overcome individual brilliance. Their 2004 championship remains one of the most surprising and inspiring stories of the decade. As the decade progressed, new faces began to emerge. Meanwhile, the mid-2000s also saw the rise of international stars. Dirk Nowitzki from Germany revolutionized the power forward position. His ability to stretch the floor with his shooting was ahead of its time. In 2006, Dirk led the Dallas Mavericks to the finals, though they fell short against Dwayne Wade and the Miami Heat. That series became infamous for controversial officiating, but it also signaled the rise of Wade as a superstar. Wade, alongside Shaq, led the Heat to their first championship, proving that a new generation of stars was ready to carry the league forward. The 2000s were also defined by unforgettable rivalries. Kobe Bryant versus Tim Duncan, Shaq versus Yao Ming, LeBron James versus everyone. But perhaps the most heated rivalry was between Kobe and the Boston Celtics' big three of Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen. The Celtics, long searching for a return to glory, formed their powerhouse trio in 2008. That season, they defeated the Lakers in the finals, reigniting the legendary Celtics-Lakers rivalry. It was a clash of tradition, pride, and history. The Lakers would get their revenge in 2010, but the battles between these teams became instant classics. Another significant aspect of the 2000s was the evolution of the NBA's style of play. Early in the decade, the game was slower, more physical, and heavily reliant on big men dominating the paint. Hand-checking was allowed, defenses were brutal, and low-scoring games were common. the decade progressed, rule changes began to favor perimeter players and offense. The banning of hand-checking in 2004 opened the door for quicker guards and scorers to flourish. This shift paved the way for players like Steve Nash, whose fast-paced Phoenix Suns revolutionized basketball with their 7 seconds or less offense. Nash won back-to-back MVPs in 2005 and 2006, proving that a pass-first point guard could be the league's most valuable player. By the end of the decade, the NBA was transforming. LeBron James was ascending to superstardom. Kobe Bryant had cemented his legacy with 5 championships. Tim Duncan and the Spurs continued to be a model of excellence. Dirk Nowitzki was on the verge of delivering Dallas its first title. And the seeds of the modern game, fast pace, spacing, three-point shooting, were being planted. The 2000s may not always get the same nostalgic glow as the 80s or 90s, but they were a pivotal era that shaped everything we see today. What makes the 2000s truly unforgettable is how it blended eras. You had the last great dominant centers like Shaq and Yao, the rise of versatile forwards like LeBron and Dirk, the unstoppable will of Kobe Bryant, and the quiet greatness of Tim Duncan. You had drama, from locker room feuds to shocking upsets. And you had the birth of a global NBA, with international players becoming household names. It was an era of transition, but also an era of greatness. Looking back now, the 2000s were far more than just a bridge between the Jordan era and today's NBA. They were a golden age of their own. The stars, the stories, and the rivalries of that decade still echo in the game today. And while younger fans might not remember it as vividly, the legacy of that era is etched in every crossover, every dunk, and every buzzer beater we see now. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the NBA's unforgettable 2000s, make sure to subscribe to Isaac Way for more stories that bring the game's history to life.
Clearing the way inside.
Remember you blocked my first 3 shots?
Steele takes it inside.
Yes. Come on, my highlight of my career.